Hi, and welcome to Becoming Unstoppable Fitness and Weight Loss. We're your hosts, Lynn and Stephanie. We're just two ordinary girls. We were born without skinny jeans, and we fought hard to become fit and fierce. And now we're coaches who get to share our passion and strength with others.
We started this podcast so we could share the knowledge and insights that have helped many of our clients with an even larger audience, and our dream is to help you become unstoppable.
All right, today is episode number 20. Woohoo! We got 20
Wow.
episodes, almost. And today we're going to be talking about emotional maturity. And you might be wondering why this has anything to do with weight loss, but it actually has everything to do with weight loss. It is how we recognize our emotional state and we take responsibility for it versus trying to eat our feelings away.
Yes.
So it really has a lot to do with, maintaining your healthiest weight. And we're going to delve into that a little bit more today.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we're just going to talk about us a little bit. We're just going to share a little bit. And the reason we do this, isn't because we're super interested in ourselves, but it's just a way of connecting with our audience. I guess sharing a little bit about our lifestyle, and really none of our lifestyle would even be possible if we weren't living our healthiest, fiercest, strongest, if we didn't take care of our health and live at our ideal weights, etc. So anyways, so I'm super grateful for the lives that we get to live. Neither one of us ever really stop, and I don't think I would want it any other way. Now that doesn't mean we overdo it. We do, take intentional time to rest. But I guess part of not stopping is also resting intentionally. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So there you go. But anyway, Stephanie, tell us about your weekend. What's going on with you?
Well, this morning I played some volleyball, so that was fun.
You did?
It's that time of year, yeah.
I didn't know that. Outdoor?
Sand volleyball.
Yes.
I'm not that great at it, but it was a really fun time.
Yes.
I love getting to play in the summer.
Yes.
Now that the weather's nice.
Where did you do that? Over at Cottonwood?
Actually, there's some volleyball courts across from F45. It's called Town Lake in McKinney. Yeah, they have a couple volleyball courts there that are sand volleyball, which I guess I've been by many times before because I used to run around there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know they were there until just recently. I haven't acknowledged they were there until just recently. So I think we might make it a semi-regular thing with the studio, going playing volleyball maybe once or twice a month for those that like to do it.
Yeah.
It's a good way to just get outside and get active and enjoy the weather. So that was really great. And tonight I'm gonna go to.
Wait, then you did some classes, right?
Oh, I did work this morning. I coached some classes. Lynn took a class and she crushed it.
Oh, I don't know about that, but yeah, you were there. How many? Two classes?
2 classes this morning, yeah. So it wasn't too crazy. Coached a couple classes this morning, then did the volleyball, and then now I'm here. And tonight I'm going to dinner at a country club with my boyfriend and his friends, and I haven't met any of his friends yet, so I'm very excited.
Yeah.
And tomorrow is one of my friend's birthdays, and we're going to go celebrate with a big group.
Good.
So we're going to enjoy.
Yeah. And so what about your time for recharging? Do you
Recharge time?
Yeah.
So actually that's what I did last night. I will say I felt very drained at the end of this week. So I just knew I got invited to go do some things, and I really wanted to go country dancing, but I had to tell myself I need this time to mentally recover, and then by the end of the evening I felt so much better.
Good for you.
So she's mentioned intentionally resting. I carve out time to intentionally have that recharge time for myself. Just do some things at home and zone out, watch a TV show, and then just have time to regroup my thoughts a little bit and breathe, and then I feel oh, I'm okay, I can go on. Because so that was my recharge last night. as much as I wanted to go to the salon.
Good for you for having the self-discipline to say no, or the self-awareness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Good for you. Really smart. Well, yeah, I'm heading to, had a killer workout this morning, came home and cooked up the end of my vegetables. That's always my goal. Like, I never leave any vegetables uncooked on Saturday, because then I go grocery shopping and buy more vegetables. So I had some asparagus and things left over for a salad. So I cooked I roasted veggies, roasted the end of my veggies and made a salad. Got ready, got my nails done, came here to record. I'm heading to Fort Worth to go spend the night. My daughter has a dance competition tomorrow. But yeah, not a whole lot of time. I mean, I take time in the morning to journal every day when I get up. You know, I write my goals down. I inspire myself with some of my beliefs about myself, of what I'm capable of, and you know, write down like what I appreciate about my life and the people around me and how I plan on supporting myself and them. So that's kind of like my morning routine in a nutshell, but just fills me up with like energy and inspiration and the good stuff, because as you know, like, you know, we're pouring out, all of us, like I'm sure you at home as well. We're moms, we're wives, we're girlfriends, whatever, just friends of friends. And we're continually pouring into other people, but we have to make sure that we are somehow pouring into ourselves, or we have nothing to give. We become depleted.
Yes, I think that's brilliant that that's your like morning routine. And I know I started breathing in the morning, that makes a difference, but I feel like setting those intentions will just take it up to the next level.
Yeah, it's really a great thing to incorporate. And I noticed for me too, Stephanie and I were talking about this before we started recording, when I become depleted, then I become graspy, like from the people around me. I start demanding that they give me things. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later in this episode, because it is related to emotional maturity. But that's one sign, when you start to get really frustrated with the people around you because they're not giving you what you quote unquote need. That's a sign, hey, I'm not giving it to myself. I'm empty. I'm running low or dry.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like I was on the verge of that this week, so I'm so glad I took that time. Like, I just knew I needed it.
Yeah, good for you.
Because I've been there before, for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we all have, and we still go there. You know, it's not. We're never perfectly in line with our ideal selves. We can just kind of correct ourselves when we get offline.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to talk about emotional maturity. We're going to talk about what it is. And again, I think a really great definition of emotional maturity is like keeping track of our internal state and then responding to that in a way that aligns with our values and goals. So I'm trying to think of an example of that. Can you, like when you're feeling sad?
I mean, I think we all have this thing where we want to deflect our problems or deflect the blame from ourselves to the other things. So what I've actually gotten a lot better at, even though it's still a process, is I'm like, okay, well, why am I having this problem? What is it that I can do to change it or to feel different? Because it used to always be the answer like, well, what's wrong in my life and who's doing what wrong? And like, who or what is to blame? And then now I think my focus is more like, okay, what do I need to address to fix this? I mean, yes, there are real problems that, you know, certain causes to problems, but the solution is usually you figuring out what you need to do. So I think it's flipped around. Like when I was talking to Lynn earlier, I had a very demanding week and was feeling very low energy by the end of the week. And I'm like, that's not who I am. So I knew I needed that recharge, but I found myself getting like frustrated through the week. And and I knew it wasn't just that I had a lot on my to-do list and a very demanding work schedule. I'm like, there's something I know I need to address, and I haven't even totally figured it out, but having that time to reflect yesterday helped calm me down, and I'm searching internally for what I can change to fix the frustration, So I think it comes down to taking responsibility when you're facing an issue or a problem.
Okay, so when you say changing things internally, but I think you also mentioned like you might change some things externally as well, as far as like you might delegate some of your responsibilities to some other people. So tell us about, because we don't always want to be like, well, this is just my problem, this is just the way I'm thinking, this is just, this is just my mindset. So tell us that balance between internal and external. Like, how do you?
Well, I would say, like, when it comes to the internal, I think you just have to think about, okay, what do I need to reflect upon emotionally, and like, why am I having this reaction? Versus externally, like, okay, what are some actions you can do to actually like change it? Maybe there are certain factors you're like, oh, I could take this off my plate and delegate to someone else, or manage my time more wisely to get X, Y, and Z done. So there are those like physical factors of actually changing things. But then I guess internally, you're going to have your initial natural response to anything. And I think one thing Lynn taught me doing her program was it is okay to have those feelings and acknowledge them, but you have to go past that. Like, you can go through those feelings, you can have them, but then, okay, why am I feeling this way? And how can I turn this into something positive for me? And how can I make this change happen? How can I solve the problem? So you might feel a certain way about something, and I feel like I have feelings where I'm like, well, it's the world's fault, and life is hard, and I don't deserve this, but at the end of the day, that's just me being dramatic. That's not going to help solve anything. I like, okay, reset. I can feel all those things for a little bit, but let's flip the script, and what can I do? And then usually my emotions will change with that, and I won't be the victim of anything all of a sudden, because I actually address it.
Yeah, I love that. So I was thinking about like a specific instance with my husband, right? Where he did something that I felt like I sensed betrayal. And that's a very strong emotion for me. Like, for some reason, that's a hot button. When I feel betrayal, watch out. So I felt betrayal. I slowed myself down, and I was like, well, is this really betrayal? First of all, I had to look at it and be like, am I being not dramatic, but am I sensing betrayal where there isn't one? Or, trying to take different viewpoints. How could he be looking at this situation? Because I'm sure it wasn't like, oh, I want to betray my wife. I'm sure that wasn't his intention, right? So he had a different intention, which I took as betrayal. But the answer for me wasn't just to sweep it under the rug and be like, oh, I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it, because fact of the matter was that I still felt like I was, like, my safety or my sense of security was jeopardized. And it's not going to be that same with everybody, or it's not going to feel the same with everybody, but when it's your spouse, obviously, you're operating more closely than it would be like a friend or something. So I feel like it needed to be addressed, and then sure enough, he expressed his point of view, and we came to a conclusion based on like both of our points of view. So like, well, I see it this way. I don't know. It felt good to actually address it versus like, well, I just need to change. Oh, I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it. So it was kind of like an assertive communication, but it wasn't making him acquiesce to me. It was more of like I hate the word compromise, but I guess that's what it was. How can we both maintain control over our lives while not stepping on the other person's toes?
Right. I think that's one of the key factors of emotional maturity is that you're able to see other perspectives and accept that even if you don't agree with it, you're still going to have a disagreement, but being able to at least see someone else's side of things rather than just always being black and white and meeting in the middle, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah.
And it can be very hard sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And there are some things I won't compromise my viewpoint on, but I am more flexible in my approach.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't act like I'm black and white. Like, I know where I want to get to. I know the conclusion where I want to get, but I'm not so rigid in my approach. I'll kind of like, I'll be more creative in the way that I get my point across. And I know it sounds like manipulation. It is not. It is just having a less rigid personality for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Just coming in with a softer approach to an argument, I can think makes a big difference in where it goes.
I like the way you phrase that. Softer approach. Yeah, that is part of emotional maturity as well, right?
Yeah.
Because the minute you come in with a hard-nosed approach, the other person's reaction is to fight back no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if they don't know what they're fighting for, they're going to resist.
Yes.
Yeah, you're so mature, Stephanie.
Well, some days.
Yeah, and that's what this really is, right? Like, we don't claim to be, we'll talk about some of our stumbling blocks even this week. You know, we don't claim to be completely emotionally mature. I don't think anybody is ever. But, you know, we're striving for like improvements, and that's enough for us. That's enough for me anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always striving for better.
I hate failing, but
It's horrible.
But yeah, when you have the mindset of like, I'm gonna pick myself up and grow and learn and do it better, and it's not such a big deal.
Yeah, it's not a forever fail, it's just a temporary fail.
Yeah. So why do we want this thing called emotional maturity? You know, I said, well, it helps us with our weight loss or our weight maintenance, which is great. But besides that, why do you strive to become emotionally mature, more mature?
Well, your relationships with people, not just like in a marriage or a relationship, but friendships. If you want to be able to have a healthy relationship with people, that's going to be hard to achieve if you don't know how to react in an emotionally mature way when things don't go your way. That's going to end friendships and potentially relationships, marriages, or at least put them in a very bad spot if you can't address issues in a calm, mature manner. Because I mean, honestly, if you want to be liked by other people, if you're gonna go off the handle about something that just you don't agree with, if you have this childish response and throw a tantrum when things don't go your way, no one really wants to be around that. I don't like seeing people react like that to things, and it's not attractive, and it's not something I want to surround myself with. And in a relationship, I think you always, like, if you're in a marriage or a relationship, you're going to see those sides of people for sure. But if that's like a regular thing to see someone throwing a tantrum, I feel like that just, I know when I've seen that, at least, it's a major turnoff. You're like, why am I spending my time with this person?
Yeah.
You know, and so I think, you know, people are going to have their moments, but in general, I think it's just huge on your relationships and how you appear to other people, and how you present yourself as a leader in whatever aspect you are a leader in. I think that's really important.
Yeah. I had some major snafus this week. I'm feeling kind of bad about them, especially as we're talking about it. And I think, you know, I haven't had like these kinds of reactions in a while, but I think, like what we were saying before, I think I was like at a point of depletion maybe. And so I started overreacting to things. And so that's a good sign for all of us. Like, hey, if you catch yourself in this kind of pattern, instead of shaming yourself, I think it's a really great time to be like, wait a second, what's going on with you that you're feeling so empty right now that there's this series of, you know, explosions. And like you said, like whether it comes out towards your spouse, your kids, your neighbor, whatever, if it doesn't come out there, sometimes it comes out as like eating the bag of licorice or in other ways. So even people who seem completely mature, because they don't have temper tantrums, sometimes they're having internal temper tantrums. So we don't want that either. We want to, you know, make sure that we are, you know, in a place that's like conscious and aware and just always aware of our internal state. When we are feeling depleted, catch it hopefully before you go into the tantrums.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because I will say I've definitely done many food tantrums after like a bad first date. This has happened so many times. I will admit.
Oh, I love
I would
that.
go
home. Food tantrums. It's true.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to take it out on the guy that I didn't like that I just met. So I'd go home and like eat a bunch of sugar or just whatever was in there, just because I was like so frustrated and like, oh, it's a terrible day. I just am going to do this to feel better. I've been there, so
yeah,
I'm pretty good about not like getting too explosive with people, although it does happen. I've fought over like frozen yogurt with my sister before as adults, so like it's happened. But in general, it's not really a people thing for me. So, but until I started Lynn's program, I didn't realize like my tantrum and my emotional immaturity was coming out with food. Like once I got frustrated, I'd go home, binge, and then go to bed because I was just mad. Like, you know, and so I had to learn to get past that. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think a lot of people know it is there's emotional eating, but that is kind of like a maturity response.
Yeah. So I was looking at one of my situations, and I'll kind of go into it because maybe some people can relate. There was somebody another parent at Hallie's school who we had conversed. Like she was at a party at my house back in September. I had all the parents over and we had conversed, and I shared a lot about, you know, my business and like what I do. And she actually was she's studying to be a therapist. I'm getting very specific now, but that's okay. And for some reason, I just assumed like we were on the same page, and I shared a lot of information about like the behavioral model I came up with, and like I was just so excited to share with her. And for some reason, I assumed we didn't have that long of a conversation. I mean, maybe 20-30 minutes, but I assumed that we were like on the same team. I assumed she was like a good person with good intentions. I don't even know why I made all of these assumptions, but then I was talking to my daughter and I was like, oh, we should get together with so-and-so and his mom. And she's like, did you know that his mom thinks that you are emotionally unintelligent? And I was like, oh, what? Like, we were supposed to be on the same team. I'm very aware of my emotions. I am angry, I feel betrayed, and I'm disappointed right now. Anyways, so I proceeded. So I named my emotions. I knew exactly what I was feeling. I felt them in my body, around my heart, tension in my shoulders. I knew exactly what I was feeling. And what do? I messaged her and I was like, so, I don't know how I said it. I was like, this is what, you know, I learned today, and I really wish if that had been your concern that you had approached me directly versus telling your son this and then him telling my daughter. And part of the reason I think I asserted myself so strongly is because I was trying to be an example to my daughter of like self-assertion. But afterwards I was like, okay, like first of all, I didn't even like I didn't even confirm. Maybe that wasn't even true. Like
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know, maybe my daughter just told me that, or maybe her son just told her that. I don't even know for sure that she said that.
Yeah.
I think she did, because she kind of admitted it. But anyway, so it probably, and then like what good, I think the root of the problem when I examined it was really my naivety. Like, and I love the fact that I do assume the best in people, but it really is a stumbling block for me. So, you know, if I had this to do all over again, I think the lesson I would learn, instead of confronting this mom, I think I would have examined and been like, okay, so what is your weakness or your flaw that caused this whole series of events? If I hadn't assumed that this lady was on my team, none of this would have ever been disappointing in the first place. Like, we weren't like best friends. It wasn't like, if she was my best friend or like in my inner circle, I think I would have had every right to have confronted her and been like, hey, did you say this? But she was just an acquaintance. Like, what made me think that we were like on the same team?
That's a great question, because I do the exact same thing. So
okay.
I would love to figure it out. So if anyone has the answer.
Well, I'm not going to assume anymore that people are on my team. They have to show me they're on my team before I think that. Yeah.
No assumptions.
Yeah.
That's true. I'll probably keep assuming away, but I'll try.
Yeah. But the good thing about this was that then, there was an exchange of, you know, messages that went back and forth. It got really heated, but then we had a school function the next night, and I was like, oh my God, she's gonna be there. And I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm not there for, this is not about me. I'm there to support the kids. So I went. I was very composed. I knew what my mission was. My mission was to support my daughter and the other kids. And I wasn't gonna let this interfere with me at all. I felt really good about going. Got back on my horse, as we would say, and then it turns out she didn't show up. So I don't think it had anything to do with our, hopefully it didn't, I don't know. But that's, you know, between her and her.
So when it comes to, because I feel like if I've been in a situation with someone and then I have to like be at the same event, what's your approach? Like, do you actively, like, say you just had this argument and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go anyway, support my kids. Would you go up and confront her and say hello and be friendly, or would you just mind your business? I guess it depends situation to situation, but
yeah,
I feel like that can be tough for people. Myself, mostly, is why I'm asking.
For me, what I did was I just reminded myself who I am. I went back to my affirmations. So I'm a nurturing, protective, and watchful mom. And then I'm a warm, gracious, and kind human. So I went on in there with like those two agendas. And so I feel like if she came up to me, I would have been a warm, gracious, and kind person. And then I was just there, you know, as the nurturing, protective, watchful mom. And I like asked questions. I supported the kids. I was really proud of how I showed up. So
that's great.
That was a win.
Yeah. So whatever happened, you just knew how you would respond.
Get back on the horse. That was my mission.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, we talked about like, well, I'm not going to walk away from this without a lesson. My lesson was, okay, yeah, don't assume.
Yes. That is great advice.
Okay. Do you have anything you could share with, I think this is encouraging to share our, you know, our imperfections as well as our wins and our victories, because then you all know like, hey, this is part of life, and we're not,
I mean,
how do we overcome obstacles?
It's been so long since I've had like an argument with someone, but like I mentioned, like the froyo with my sister, I don't know, when she visited, this was like last year, usually we get some frozen yogurt when she visits, because that's like what she's so excited to come to Dallas for. So we ordered some, and only one showed up. And I really don't even remember exactly what started this argument and how it got so big, but got on this big argument, like because I was like, oh, I'll just go get some. And she was like, no, well, I don't know how that happened, but we got in this huge argument with one another. And then, like, looking back, I'm like, how was I responding so immaturely to get an argument over nothing? And I think a lot of people have this happen. There's like something that's completely like trivial or not important, and a huge argument comes out of it. And I know looking back, like I don't remember how it escalated, but I do remember at that time I was feeling totally run down, exhausted, depleted, and she had recently had a surgery, and so she was even more run down than me. And so I think it's really important when we get to those points in life when we're worn out, we have to like find a way to replenish ourselves before it gets to that point, because I think all of us are going to be emotionally immature at some points in life, especially if we're depleted on energy and we've been giving, and I think, like I mentioned earlier, when I took time for myself yesterday, I think it's so important to acknowledge when you are getting close to that point so you can keep the peace in your relationships. And I'm like, like looking back at that, I'm like, that is not who I am. I have it too together to have an argument over frozen yogurt. Like, because it didn't make any sense. But upon reflection, I just realized like, I need to keep myself in life in a way that I won't have these big reactions to something that is not important. And usually I feel like a lot of arguments are not that important. That a lot of us at least face on a regular basis. But so I think giving yourself, like she said, those affirmations of who you are, because I mean, I think it all for everyone, we're going to get at points where we get worn down and we're tired, we don't want to deal with people, and we're just pouring from an empty cup. But I think giving yourself those affirmations and reminding yourself of who you are is a way to combat that so you don't get to that point. But yeah, after that, I just reflected. I was like, how am I gonna not do that again? And like, why did I get to that point? And so I figured out why I was in such an immature mental state.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a matter of combating that going forward. Like, don't let yourself get to that point, or at least do your best to not get there. And since then, I haven't had any sort of big argument with anyone, so I haven't had an issue. But I think it does come down to reminding yourself of who you are, and like, is this really how I want to respond? Is this who I am? Is this a reflection, a good reflection of like who I am and who I want to present myself to be?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, just.
Yeah, I think a big piece for me too is that self-appreciation. Like, I go through a lot of the day and I'm like, yep, not one person has said thank you. Like, I'm doing lunches, I'm dropping off, I'm fixing dinner. In fact, I get the opposite. Like, why were you 3 minutes late? I hate this healthy food. Like, complaining. And I'm like, oh my God. So instead, sometimes I shared with you, sometimes I'm like, can't you just be grateful? Somebody say thank you. Because it's such a relief when somebody notices the effort that you're putting in. You're like, oh God, thank you. Or even, like, I always make sure to say to my trainers, like, thank you, that was a great workout, because it always is. And I know they're pouring their heart into coaching us during that workout. So I always make sure to say thank you, but I don't even know if that's enough for you. But I think if we all took a minute and said, you know what, Steph, you did good. Like, dang girl, like you brought it to that workout, or, you know, whatever you appreciated about yourself during that time when you were supporting others. Do you think that would fill your your cup as we go?
Yeah, if people say thank you and everything, is that what
Well,
you're
I was
asking?
wondering, is it helpful if other people say thank you, or is it even more helpful if you say thank you to yourself, or acknowledge yourself and appreciate yourself?
I don't really do that enough to know.
Right, we're so busy criticizing or even critiquing ourselves. What could we do better? But what about what did we do great?
Yeah, when it comes to coaching, I guess I really don't do that for myself that much, because I really do enjoy it. Sometimes I'm like, you need to stop being so intense on people with their form and everything, that maybe you need to just give them a break sometimes, but I literally physically can't stop. So I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But and then at the end of the day, like when I go home at night, I'm like, oh, I gave a ton of energy and I feel that. But a lot of people do say thank you, before they leave, and that does mean a lot, to be thanked and acknowledged. Or on a rare occasion, sometimes someone will come in for like a first class or whatever and be like, wow, I really appreciated that you did this, this, and this, or and like that makes me feel so great, and it does fill my cup. But I feel like I don't know, I fill my cup and give myself affirmations, but when it comes to like day to day and my job and coaching, I guess I'm so in the mindset that like this is what I do and I love it and I get filled and loving it. I never have thought about like taking time to thank myself for doing it.
Mm-hmm. Or just appreciating certain things, like oh my god, you're on time every day, you do have so much knowledge to share, like you are preventing injury, you are increasing performance, like I love the way you're super positive. I could tell you a million things that I appreciate.
I say so many nice things.
No, and it's the truth. I only say true things, but can we recognize these things in ourselves so that we're not dependent on other people? I think that's even more useful.
Yeah, no, I think that would be helpful for me to acknowledge that more when it comes to my work, rather than I do give myself affirmations, and I feel like they're more like encompassing of my personality and personal life versus like coaching in my work life. But maybe that would fill up my cup more to have that specific aspect if I brought that to myself, because I do know it feels great when other people say affirmations for me. So if I could do that for myself more, that could take me up a couple notches maybe.
We could write a list and say, girl, this is what I love about you. Just write the list every morning, right?
No, that's
I'm gonna try it.
Great.
As much as I said, like, hey, I do my morning routine with these things, but maybe, and actually I started doing that again after I ran into these like little outbursts where I was like, what's happening with me? Oh yeah, I gotta start doing my morning routine again. But I feel like I like that list. Girl, this is what I love about you.
Mm-hmm. I like that too. I feel like or at the end of the day for me, after going through my day, maybe going through and like recognizing like, this is what I did great and these were good moments for me, and let's apply that to tomorrow. Just because I know I'm not great at the morning stuff. And having that maybe reflection, I don't know, I think I might try that. I think I need that.
I had to laugh last time I was traveling with my mom somewhere. She talked about like, oh my gosh, she was like, this person said this about me, this person said this about me. She was like, it was like nonstop bragging. And I'm like, oh my God, like what's happening here? And I figured out like, oh, is she wanting my like praise? I don't know. I got the sense that I was like, yes, well, they're right. You are you are amazing. And then I started like saying all these things, and then she stopped the bragging. So it's interesting how people it's like a bid for attention or a bid for affection.
I feel like they're fishing for you to like say something. Because yes, I have definitely been around people like that. And I think that's exactly, they want to hear that from you, and they want to have that confirmation from you that you feel that way about them.
Yeah. So I don't mind doing that for people. But then I just have to realize, like, oh, I need to do that for myself too. So that I'm not unconsciously, because I'm sure my mom didn't even know what she was in need of when she was doing all of that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be that person who is like unconsciously dependent on other people for that. And I do feel like, maybe some of these fights that I was picking this week were like bids for attention or affection. I don't know. I gotta stop it though. Okay, no more of that. So I hope this helped you guys. I hope knowing that, like, hey, I coach on this day in and day out. I pretty much live, eat, and breathe this stuff, and I still find myself in these predicaments. So it's okay. I'm not going to give up. Like I said, I'm just getting back on the horse and learning from each experience, and hopefully you guys can learn from our experiences too. So thank you for sharing your things, and if you guys have any questions for us, we would love to answer your questions. Our information will be in the show notes. If you enjoyed the podcast, please take a moment to rate and review it. There will be a $100 Lululemon gift card for the lucky person whose name we draw out of whoever rates and reviews the podcast. We will draw your name, and somebody will win a $100 Lululemon gift card. I hope it's you. And I guess that's it for today. So tune in next time for some more Becoming Unstoppable Fitness and Weight Loss.